and welcome to the first episode of a new series of harp lessons. My name is Zuzanna, and some of you may know me already from the project Discover the Harp and the weekly live harp lessons that I've been doing over the past year. Today is the beginning of something new, a new video series, and in that first episode I'm going to be talking about how to find the right height of the stool when you're playing the harp. 3 quick things before we start. As you can see, today with me is my pedal harp. I've chosen to use the pedal harp because I think it can be slightly more challenging to find the right height of a stool in case of this instrument, due to the fact that it's got a few more strings in that top region. Lap harp players may find that episode not so useful, but anyone else who's playing the kind of the harp that is supposed to stay and be balanced on the floor with the player seated on a stool, carry on, all those tips will be relevant for you. You may want to wear some loose-fitting pants just to make sure that nothing restricts your movement when you're trying out a new sitting position. And finally, as with all lessons, you will find a free PDF in the description of this video. So to make the most of it, download it now. Start with your own body. Leave the harp on the floor. You can even push it a bit further away to have lots of comfortable space. You want to sit a bit closer to the edge of the stool than perhaps you normally would. This is so you can get a good feeling of your sitting bones. So maybe move around a little bit to get that nice feeling of being properly seated. You want to have your feet flat on the floor. Don't worry for now about the pedals. Let's just start with the feet on the floor. And you want to make sure that your knees are not higher than your hips. If your knees are higher than your hips, you will definitely need to sit a bit higher. Now find the balance point of your harp. Each harp has that point, each will have it in a slightly different place. You want to find the position of the harp where it will not weigh on your knee. Remember, you want to keep your harp on your knees, not on your shoulder. You need to keep your shoulder free. It might be slightly easier to find that point with someone helping or with you standing up. I've made a whole video about that, so do check it out. With your body and the harp in balance, you want to check 2 things. How does it feel like and what does it look like? So first, try playing around the 2nd, 3rd, maybe 4th octave and try to feel what your arms and shoulders are telling you. If you feel that you have to lift them quite a bit to reach the strings around this region, that means that you should already at this stage put your harp down and adjust your stool. If that feels okay, check how things look like. What do the strings look like when you're playing in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th octave? Ideally, you should be able to move your gaze quite easily from the strings to where you're used to be having your music stand, around this area. Here, make sure that you allow yourself time to adjust. It's likely that if you're doing that for the first time, things will look very different than what you're used to be seeing. So that's something your body, your gaze can adjust. But if you're having trouble seeing the strings in the 2nd and 3rd octave, then you need to try to change things. A few final remarks. Just like everyone's body is different, every harp is different. Sometimes the exact 2 models by the same harp maker will be a tiny bit different. A lot depends on that part of the harp where the highest strings are. For your reference, I'm playing a Horngacher 46 string harp and I'm a little over 5 feet tall, short, 157 centimeters, and I find that I need to sit a lot higher when playing a Lion and Healy harp or a Salvi harp. They have that top part going up at a slightly sharper angle, and I feel that I need to sit a bit higher in order to reach comfortably for the strings around the 2nd, 3rd octave, where a lot of action is happening for both hands. So take plenty of time to experiment for yourself. Be prepared that things will sometimes look quite strange when you're moving from one sitting to the other. Don't worry, your eyes will adjust. The most important thing is for your body to feel comfortable. If you feel in doubt about your sitting position, in my opinion, it's a tiny bit safer to go higher rather than lower. So try playing with that if you're not sure. I would also say that if you're practicing a piece where you've got a section of playing quite high on the string, on the strings, first octave and above. I might consider temporarily adjusting the height of my chair just to make it easier. If you're going to practice that section for 10 or 15 minutes, you don't want to get pain in your arms and shoulders. Finally, when you have found a position which feels good, try to remember some kind of a visual cue that you will be able to take away when you will be moving, for example, your harp to a different venue and you might be using a different stool. Sometimes even with the exact same height of the stool, at a different venue things will look differently. So try to have something that you can use as a relation to what you've been used to. Some people try to see where the tuning pins of some specific strings will be, or where that part of the harp will be. That's also another way. For myself, the trick that I use is looking at where my hands would land for the first chord of Debussy Dances. I used to play that piece a lot in auditions, where sometimes I was using a different instrument and obviously a different stool, where I didn't have enough time to warm up and I had to find the right position for playing quickly. The right position maybe is a bit too much to say, but a position which will feel relatively comfortable to play in a situation of high pressure. So what I've done when I was practicing on my own, on my familiar harp, I was trying to see what does it look like seeing my hands on the strings when I'm sitting comfortably, and then trying to use that in an audition situation, just putting my hands quickly on that D minor chord, then adjusting the chair, then checking again, and so on. The chances are that the rest of the harp will feel a tiny bit different after I play, but knowing that I feel comfortable playing those opening chords made a big difference. I hope that was helpful. Make sure to download the free PDF for this lesson if you want to make the most of it, and I'm going to see you next week. Enjoy your practice! Start with just yourself and your body. Is that going to work, or is that going to look utterly stupid? Intro 10, that must be it.